Okay, thank you, everybody. We're going to start our meeting of the Housing Authority right now. Roll call, please.
Yes. Commissioner Beckles, Commissioner Bowie.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Here.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Here.
Commissioner Fawn.
Here.
Vice Chair Beard.
Here.
Chair Nguyen.
Yes. Do we have any oral communications for the Housing Authority? Or all these for?
Those are for City Council.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Anybody wish to speak on oral communications for the Housing Authority? Okay, great. Thank you. We have some consent items tonight.
Yes, consent items for the Housing Authority status report in the minutes from the January 26th meeting can be acted on simultaneously with one motion unless separate discussion and or action is requested by a Housing Authority member.
Thank you. At this point, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Commissioner Beckles, Commissioner Bowie,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor,
Yes.
Commissioner Fawn,
Yes.
Vice Chair Beard,
Yes.
Chair Nguyen.
Aye.
Motion carried with 6 yes votes.
We don't have any items for consideration. Is there any, are there any matters from our city manager or executive director? No? Okay. And my colleagues, fellow commissioners? None? Okay. I'm going to adjourn this Housing Authority. We're calling this meeting to order. Okay, one more card. It's regular? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, we're going to do oral communications. And this is for the Successor Agency and also for the regular council meeting.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to do the invocation and pledge first?
Certainly. I'd like to invite Mr. Okereke to offer us the invocation. And then following that, I'd like to ask Mayor Pro Tem Steve Jones to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay. All right, please prepare yourself according to your faith. Lord, we thank you for all those gathered here tonight and for the sense of high purpose we share. As we consider the items before us this evening, we ask that you guide us, give us pure heart, the strength and commitment to make the best decision for our Garden Grove community. Let your will be clear and let your will be done. Amen.
Amen.
Please face the flag of our great nation and say the pledge together with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Verla Lambert.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and Garden Grove. I'm here tonight. I wanted to speak a little bit on the Great Wolf project. I understand that it has opened on Friday. And now that it has opened, we must do our best to make it work for us. And so we need to clean up some of the properties around there, to fix up the city properties in the area as the tourists may be getting off the 22nd freeway when they come in from John Wayne, if they fly in. They also get off up on Harbor Boulevard. They get off at Hastor. And they're such as the properties at Partridge Street and Garden Grove Boulevard. There's a property right there that belongs to the city, I understand, and its fence is all torn down, and it does need to be looked at and straightened up. Either build on it, fix it up to where it's neat. There's a small fenced-in area on Garden Grove Boulevard at the end of Rainbow Street. You'd never clean that up until I make a phone call and say it's full of dead leaves and grass and it's a fire hazard. I don't even know what it's there for, but anyway, that needs to be cleaned up. There's also that little triangle right there at Harbor, Homestead, and Bararo. If you're not going to do anything there, at least set out some benches, put a rock path in there, and let us sit underneath that one little tree that was there. And then when you get all that done, you can also get code enforcement to come out and check the property across the street from the hospital. The sign says automotive repair. I don't know if that belongs to Leon or not, but there by the drainage ditch, that needs to have one of those green fences so we can't see that umpteen unworkable cars every time you come by. This is not a good sign for tourists from other places to come by and see this. Also, I took my walks there before the Friday when the grand opening was supposed to be. And the days in, that nice green part of their property out there on Harbor, there was several coffee cups and fast food wrappers and whatnot in that nice green area. That's right across the street. Come on down Palm, there by the townhouses. Townhouses don't have enough parking place, so they clean out their car right there in that gutter. Well, I believe the managers and the owners' responsibility should be there, but then I don't know. And I don't know if we have a scout troop in Garden Grove anymore or not, to where they could adopt this area for, send out a couple of boys each weekend, different boys, and get a badge for their troop. Let them earn their badges. You know, my mom said, you know, clean up your own house before you start throwing rocks, so we better get this straightened up when these new people come in. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We're actually going to do a community spotlight before we continue on with our oral communications. Staff?
The spotlight recognizing Errol Giuliano, and he has that.
Thank you. This evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members, the City of Garden Grove City Council pays tribute to a very special resident whose constant and meaningful work in the community has earned him the prestigious title of Garden Grove Citizen of the Year from the Cypress College 2016 Americana Awards. I'd like to ask this year's Garden Grove Citizen of the Year, Errol Giuliano, please to step forward. Every year, Cypress College honors citizens from 8 surrounding cities that form the college's primary service area at their annual Americana Awards ceremony. Award recipients are chosen based on their philanthropy and partnership efforts within their community. Born in Wakefield, Massachusetts, Errol and his father started Giuliano's Specialty Foods in 1959 with its first processing plant in Gardena, California. As Giuliano's specialty foods began to grow in size and distribution, Errol and his wife, Sharon, moved the plant in 1986 to Garden Grove. Giuliano's specialty food has grown under the Giuliano brand nationwide, with one of the strongest pepper and specialty olive brands in the United States. After moving the company to Garden Grove, Errol became involved in the Garden Grove Chamber of Commerce. He served as chairman of the board for 2 terms and is currently on the board of directors. Errol also joined the Garden Grove Rotary and served as president for 1 term, and is a longtime sponsor for American Youth Soccer Organization and for Miss Garden Grove. At this time, the mayor and city council would like to present Errol Giuliano with a resolution in honor of his meritorious recognition as the man of the year. Congratulations, Errol.
Well, you know me with a microphone and public speaking, but anyway, I want to thank you very much for this. This is quite an honor and really unexpected, and I wish I could do more, but you know, it makes it a lot easier to do things when you have, when you're surrounded with people like we have on the board and in the Rotary Club, in the, you know, it makes it a lot easier, and it's actually fun to get out there and do things. But I owe it to all my colleagues, and I want to thank you very much. But, anyway, they said public speaking to me is not right. I should stick with packing peppers. But anyway, here I am.
Thank you, Errol. And we're very grateful to have your business here in Garden Grove. Congratulations for the recognition for all your service throughout all the years. Okay, thank you. And at this point, we're going to continue on with oral communications. Joel Block. If anyone who'd like to speak, you can fill out one of these cards and just hand it to our city clerk.
Joel Block. I'm unfortunately not a resident of your lovely city, but I would love to be. I am speaking today about the importance of the city's role in voter registration. This is a very important year, as I'm sure the city council members know, regarding elections. Besides the elections for local elections like city council and school board, congressional elections, there's a Senate election in California, obviously the presidential election, county board of supervisors election. People move and then fail to register at their new address. That can cause problems in an election for the first time where you're going to have districts. So it's not just, you know, they might have moved to some other place in Garden Grove, but they might be in a different district. And I think it's appropriate to have the city take the lead in coordinating with the county voter registrar to make sure that voter registration is accessible both to existing voters and especially to new voters. For example, you could work with the school district to make sure that 17 and 18-year-olds in the schools are registering to vote. When you're 17 and you're going to be 18 by the next election, you're eligible to register in California. The other thing that would be great for the city to do is to facilitate access to the Secretary of State's online voter registration page. just means putting a link on websites. It's not going to cost anything of taxpayer money to put links. It's something you coordinate with the Secretary of State's office. And again, it's a very inexpensive way to spread the ability for greater voter participation. I thank you for your attention, and I encourage you in that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joel Flores. I'm sorry, Tony Flores. Tony Flores.
Thank you, Mayor, council staff. Mayor, you were right. At the last council meeting, I did follow up, and the DA's office decided not to prosecute your alleged actions regarding the Hyatt. Now, as you know, when our police arrest folks, they don't always get prosecuted at the DA's office either. In fact, there's dispositions, insufficient evidence, lack of probable cause. Doesn't mean that that person didn't violate the law. Just means that the DA is not going to prosecute. And in your case, I'm sure you learned a lesson about altering or forging documents. I'm sure you'll never do it again. At the end of the last meeting, we talked about the Barlag Broadwater deal. You did. The DA apparently has some type of a disposition on that, and is probably going to be here. I think you invite him, or you want to invite them to explain what they did in the interest of transparency, and hope we can do that. And while they're here, maybe they can walk us through why they didn't want to prosecute your actions as well. Mr. Fan, at the end of the last council meeting, you talked about my comments on the crime rate. The crime rate is up. You folks are on the council right now, and you are responsible for it. I can bet if the crime rate was down, you'd be patting yourselves on the back, taking credit for it. I've seen it in flyers before, and we'll probably see it again if the crime rate drops. But right now, it's up. And people are getting ripped off, and whether you like to believe it or not, according to the county, we should be at 1.0 to 1.2 officers per 1,000. Right now, we're at 0.69, maybe even lower, which means that we need probably around 209 to 210 police officers. And don't take my word for it. Maybe do your own investigation, talk to our police department, talk to the folks at the county, but that's where the numbers are coming from. So we don't really need to put more people in our city. That brings up to what you guys have probably heard about, the Olson Company, who specializes in high-density housing, apparently looking at putting a project over on Valley View between Belgrave and Chapman. Now, Olson Company specializes in high-density housing. They've had a few projects here before, which I'm sure you gentlemen are well aware of, high-density housing. At the last meeting, we took a little bit of time to extract information from them, but in their experience, they've put as many as 55 units on 2 acres. That's quite a bit. Why we want to put more of a strain on our infrastructure. And here's what came out, if you haven't read the email, but we need you folks to consider any and all prior EIRs in and around the area of potential project. The negative impact on our infrastructure, such as sewer and water systems, the increased traffic along Valley View and the connecting streets where school-age children are present, the negative impact on our already strained police and fire departments, the continuing losses of businesses along Valley View Street, the genuine concern, and this is a genuine concern, of a potential change in zoning to accommodate high-density housing that is not wanted nor supported by the West Garden Grove residents or our neighbors. The Olson Company, again, has in their experience placed as many as 55 units on 2 acres. That's just too crazy. And of course, we need you folks to go out to actively pursue businesses that we here in West Garden Grove can support and will support. So you need to take that into consideration. A lot of things going on. I know you folks are busy, but again, the crime rate is up. Do what you can to work with our police department. In fact, it's not just the police department, nor is it just you. We citizens should be taking responsibility as well for our neighborhoods. And I can tell you, I have, time and again. I have taken responsibility, and I have chased a few would-be criminals out of it. I haven't seen a few of them lately, but I'll do what I need to do, and I suggest that our neighbors do it if we cannot get the numbers. This is what the police should be doing, and you guys can need to look in the budget. I'll be more than happy to present my thoughts on the budget and where you folks can cut. For example, this Garden Grove Tourism District, we funded. We put up money so the hotels can sit there and advertise. The hotels that are making all this money, yet we're not seeing a benefit from it regarding our police and fire. But they've got a budget, and I called 7 of the hotels myself. They've got advertising budgets from $5,000 to $50,000 a year. And we want to give them more to help that out. A lot of things in the budget we can cut, gentlemen. I'll be more than happy to give you my suggestions whether you want them or not. Thanks again.
Nick Dibbs. Following Nick Dibbs will be Maureen Blackman and then Keith Riley.
Mayor Wynn, members of the City Council, staff, and distinguished guests. My name is Nicholas Dibbs. I'm here to speak on two items. I graduated a number of years ago from Pacifica High School and eventually became a teacher. And I've been a teacher in the Garden Grove Unified School District since 2001. I'm advocating that, as you probably heard before, the restoration of Students in Government Day. Last Tuesday, I had an opportunity to meet with Dr. George West, president of the school board, and he is in support of doing this. So I'll follow up with staff and with the council with emails and so on. I'd like to propose that we have a Youth in Government Day before the end of the spring semester, preferably on a non-student day so the students don't miss out on their studies, and that we bring in K-Bar and some former board council members as well as the current council, put together a one-day program, and I'd be happy to volunteer on that. So I'll look forward to working with you on this, and I hope we can get it, at least have some dates to propose at the next council meeting if possible, if one of you can put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Secondly, I want to echo the concerns that Tony Flores mentioned regarding the Olson development. I too want to speak out against this high-density housing there in West Garden Grove, which is predominantly single-family homes. We'd like to keep it that way. And what we need is a Fresh and Easy or some sort of a Trader Joe's or something to come in there next to the theater, or some sort of a business or a good restaurant. But in any case, I hope the council and the planning commission and staff will look into that. Thank you very much.
Maureen Blackman.
Good evening, gentlemen. I want to echo Verla Lambert in welcoming the Great Wolf and saying that we should be putting our best foot forward. And I also, on my daily walks, see active littering, as I call it, and it's really a bit disheartening when Verla says she sees cups and whatnot. It's not even just a matter of a wrapper that may have fallen out. It's litter in the neighborhood. And I really don't know exactly how it got this way or how to correct it, but it's definitely out there. There's 2 tires on Lamson that's been there. Well, it started out as 6, so I should be happy people have been picking them up 2 at a time, but 2 are pretty threadbare, and I don't think they're going to get picked up. I will put it on the action call for the city, but I would like to see if we could come up with the motto to the city or to somehow bring awareness to the fact that there is a lot of litter. Thank you.
Keith Riley.
Mayor, council members, city staff. A little surprised to be here discussing this matter regarding cannabis. About a month ago, we had a meeting and we were waiting for the governor to sign. I think it was, I forget the bill number, and that's been taken care of now. We have a number of dispensaries in the city with a ban in place, so I don't know if we still have selective enforcement. If there is in fact a ban, they are operating as businesses. I really doubt that we're collecting any money for business licenses or taxes and so on and so forth. The issue with the delay was a month ago or thereabouts that you wanted local control. The governor signed the bill, the date has been changed. You have local control. So what we're allowing to happen is we're allowing businesses to operate under the guise of being somewhat semi-legal. Either we have a ban or we do not. We can lead, follow, or get out of the way. It is my belief, along with many others, that cannabis will be approved for recreational use in the November election. In the meantime, a month ago, we had 23 dispensaries on weed maps. Those are people that are paying to advertise. My question is how many are out there operating that aren't on weed maps? So we've got all this revenue that we're declining to collect. There was a gentleman here that's manufacturing pills that insurance companies are buying for clients. We had veterans with PSTD. We had gentlemen with infant children that need the medicine, and yet we're not getting anything done. So we need to move forward with this issue. We need to do it in a rapid but cautious manner and generate some revenue for the city. We seem to have a graffiti problem from time to time, and then we wait till citizens get together to come out and paint it out. I think we should have what we call a go team, graffiti off. Stanton has a couple guys, and I think they have it off by like about noon the next day before the guys can go brag and say, look where we tagged over here. So what I'm asking you to do is to tell the city staff to get the ball rolling. Let's collect some revenue. We could certainly use it to support the police and other agencies as well. Thank you.
Josh McIntosh.
Good evening, Mayor, staff, council, residents. There is a great working model in the city of Anaheim called Greenbird, which residents collect garbage from established zones. They'll choose a zone for each weekend or every other weekend and go out there and they pick up the trash. They do it on their own. They wear little matching vests, green vests, and they handle it. There's usually 30 of them. They'll take a zone and they'll leave it spotless when they're done. As I've mentioned to staff several times in the past, this is something I'd be interested in forming here, our own version. I know we have groups like the Garden Grove Neighborhood Association with a strong bunch of people that would probably get involved, and as was mentioned earlier, the Scouts. I believe we have the residents that care enough about it, but we just don't have an existing program. If we could create something like that, and perhaps get a sponsor like Home Depot to supply trash bags or something, I'm sure they'd do that for a good PR move. So I would encourage staff and council to please look up Greenbird. They don't have an official website. It's on Facebook. I believe I've sent you all the links in the past, so please look into that and see if we can get something started like that. Obviously, this room is full of people that love Garden Grove and they want to see it cleaner and looking better, so just give us a way to do it, or possibly support us in doing that, and let's do it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we have no written communication, and I'm going to recess over to the Successor Agency. Mayor Jones?
Thank you, Mayor. Madam Clerk, would you like to call roll?
Member Bowie?
Here.
Member Nguyen?
Yes.
Member Fawn?
Here.
Vice Chair Beard?
Here.
Chair Jones?
Here. We already did oral communications in conjunction with City Council, so consent items, just 2 items, approval of the warrants and receive and file the minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Call to vote.
Member Bowie?
Yes.
Member Nguyen? Member Fawn?
Yes.
Vice Chair Beard?
Yes.
Chair Jones?
Yes.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
We have no hearings or items to any matters from Successor Agency members. Seeing none, we will adjourn to San District.
Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Member Bowie?
Yes.
Member Jones?
Here.
Member Nguyen?
Yes.
Vice President Beard?
Here.
President Fawn?
Here. We've dealt with oral communications, consent items. We have 2 items. Approval of the revised effective date to an amendment of the waste disposal agreement with the County of Orange, and also receive and file the minutes from January 26 of 2016.
Move it.
Second.
Call for a vote, please.
Member Bowie?
Yes.
Member Jones?
Yes.
Member Nguyen?
Yes.
Vice President Beard?
Yes.
President Fawn?
Yes.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
We've handled public hearings. Any items for consideration? Seeing none, any matters?
Seeing none, we'll adjourn and reconvene on Tuesday, March 22nd at 6:30 here at the Community Meeting Center.
And we're reconvening the City Council meeting right now with consent items. We have items 5A through D.
Yes, we have consent items that will be acted on simultaneously with one motion unless separate discussion and/or action is requested by a council member.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move the balance.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Councilmember Beard?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie?
Yes.
Councilmember Fawn?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones?
Yes.
Mayor Nguyen?
Yes.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
We have some consideration items. 8.
Yes, we have a consideration of an ordinance authorizing design build procedures to award contracts for specified public works projects. And staff is on its way.
I think Omar's.
Oh, I'm sorry, Omar's there, okay.
Mayor, members of the City Council, before you is an ordinance that would amend the municipal code to authorize the design-build method of contract procurement for specified public works projects. Under state law, normally the City Council for public works projects, the city is required to procure contracts for public works under the lowest bid statute, which means that we have to hire a designer to design a public project. After the design is done, then we go out to bid with the design for contractors to construct the project. So it's a design, bid, build. Once we go out to bid, we let the contract to the lowest responsible bidder. Last year, the state legislature authorized the design build form of procurement for certain public works projects. The projects that are authorized to be led by design build are projects that are at least $1 million in cost, and they are buildings, parks, and recreational facilities. So streets and other utility infrastructure are still required to be bid to the lowest responsible bidder under a current design bid build process. So before you is an amendment to the municipal code to authorize design build for those specific projects that the state now authorizes the city to led by design bid process. In the design bid process, you hire one company to go ahead and design the project. That company then bids and builds a project and provides the completed project. That is the difference in the design bid form of procurement. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. And the recommendation by staff is for the City Council to introduce the ordinance for first reading. You've already approved introduction by reading by title only and waiving further reading in your consent calendar items.
Thank you. I have a question. So whoever puts in the design, they're going to build it. So I imagine at times they also are allowed to subcontract that build out?
Yes.
So if they're doing such, how do we ensure that prevailing wage is met?
Prevailing wage is actually a requirement of state law, and when you do the design build, the contract will require the designer and builder to comply with all state laws, including the prevailing wage statutes. And all of the contractors and subcontractors that they hire are going to have to be registered with the state of California. That's a new state rule as well.
Sure. I understand those laws are in place, but how do we assure that those laws are being met?
Well, normally when we do the contract, we still are going to have someone from Public Works, our engineering department, oversee the actual design and construction of the project. You know, it's not necessarily that they go out and do their own thing and then turn the project over to the city.
Okay. So, Mr. City Manager, do we have sufficient staff to have that kind of oversight to make sure these laws are being met?
Mr. President, members of the council, I think I'm confident that we do. So we're talking about projects here where we're building a public facility of $1 million or more. Now, very rarely would the city of Garden Grove do that. However, we are embarking on building a new fire station here, our first new fire station in 50 years. This is a process that could apply to that. And in that case, we'll be looking, since we do it so seldomly, we'll have time to look very carefully to make sure that we're following the standard regulations and rules that fall under this contract, since it would be fairly rare. So I'm confident that we can do that.
I understand that we're presenting this ordinance here specifically for the construction of the new fire station, and at the same time, this ordinance will be in place for future projects as well that fall under these particular guidelines. So that's why my concern. I think it's important that we ensure that prevailing wage is met and that those who present designs through this process also meet the prevailing wage laws. And I think as a city, we should only award contracts to build, to design and build, if they have prevailing wage laws and they follow those prevailing wage laws, and we ensure that they do. So I just want assurances. Is there, I know we have our Public Works Director here. Can you speak to the issue on staffing to have oversight on this?
The projects all incorporate a construction manager. One of the duties of the construction manager will to be weekly collect a statement of the prevailing wages. And what we do is we actually look at what the contractor is paying, compare that to either federal or state standards, whichever ones are applicable, to ensure that each employee is not only getting their prevailing wage, but also all of their benefits that are required as well. And that's done on a weekly basis. If there's any issues with that, we will actually delay payment on their contract and to ensure that that's done. If there are any issues that come up from improper reporting or something like that, we will take that up with the contractor, and we have the ability at the end of the contract, the employees will usually at that point, if they've feel that they've been shortchanged, so to speak, will report something usually to the State Board of Industrial Relations, and we will get a questionnaire back, and we will have to deal with that questionnaire. And we will not release final retention until all those issues have been resolved.
So I imagine we also check to make sure that they have the proper workers' compensation insurance in place as well?
Yeah, that's all part of the benefits.
Okay, great. And then the other final issue I have, this is just in general for any kind of public construction project, is that the issue of change orders, where they may not complete something or there's a change and that increased the cost for the public. How do we ensure through this new process and this ordinance that we're going to reduce the liability to the public on change orders?
That's a difficult question to answer because change orders can come from such a wide variety of sources. I think what the state has done in limiting this to simply buildings and what have you, the likelihood of experiencing a change order is much less than if you're working on a street or utility project where the condition of the soil can change at random points, and certainly if we're working on underground utilities, we've encountered a 6 by 9 by 7 foot concrete vault in the middle of Magnolia and Lamson one time that caused quite a bit of issue. Those types of things underground are very difficult to see in advance. So I think that the change order issue is really limited by the projects being limited.
Okay, great. So with those assurances in place, I'm confident that this is an ordinance that will help us find the best proposal for our new fire station, also future projects. I just want to bring those issues up. I think it's important that we talk about those issues because this is a big project that we're undertaking in our city, and these are public dollars, and we are financing this as well. So to have these assurances in place really assures the public that we're really looking for a quality project, and that includes having all these measures in place. See, my concern is whether the person or the company, the agency or entity that puts in the design proposal, that they may contract out for the build. And if we don't have the proper oversight mechanisms in place, then it could lead to a project that is not to the standards that the public expects. So thank you for your information tonight.
Colleagues? If I have just a conceptual question, Bill. So basically, when I read the report, I was concerned that perhaps we take the lowest bidder equation out of the whole thing, but that's not really the case. Because what I see now is because we go to the basically design and then build, we just go to them and say we want a firehouse built with these parameters. And then the builder comes back, or the primary contractor comes back with the design that we tell them that we want. And they would give us basically the final price of that, what that project would be. And from that bottom number and what they can offer us based on what we were requesting, we select that builder to build. So basically, we still have the option to choose the lowest bid if we wanted to, or the bid that allows us maximum, most bang for our dollars. But we kind of just take the bid process out of the equation to streamline the process. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's the same process they used on the SR-22.
Okay, thank you.
Any others?
I would be in favor of supporting this ordinance. Over the past 20 plus years, we work a lot with state agency in bidding on government contracts, mostly for design and build of computer systems for the state. And there is no one formula that fits all. You know, the state throughout many years have experimented many different models and changed from one to the others. Some projects they prefer, the lowest bid. Other project, it's not always guaranteed that the lowest bidder would be the best deal for the state. And so they open up to see, a balance between the lowest price as well as what are the solutions offered. So I think this would give us flexibility, and we need to depend on the project management and the oversight to make sure that that all of the bids are fair and transparent, and there are no backdoor negotiation. That's the only key thing that guarantee that public will be, will have a call to determine whether there's some inappropriate action being done here.
Great. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? Please vote.
Councilmember Beard?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie?
Yes.
Councilmember Fawn?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones?
Yes.
Mayor Nguyen?
Yes.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
9-0.
Up next, we have the second reading and adoption by title only of ordinance number 2864, entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove, amending Section 2.21.015 of Chapter 2.21 of Title II of the Garden Grove Municipal Code relating to qualifications of members of committees and commissions.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second. Okay. Any further discussion? Sure, Mr. Bowie.
Yeah, I wasn't here, and so I was just a little bit perplexed about the definition of residency. And I thought by now we would want to make sure that there's no confusion over the term of maintain a residency in order to either run for office or being applied for any commission. For example, Mr. Tony Flores has bring up some of the argument that for people who have multiple homes, it is very important that we, base the residency on where that person claim his primary home exemption would be. And then other people who may have a primary home in Garden Grove and claim it to be here, but may not live here 100% of the time. Maybe they live here 60% and 40% somewhere else. Is that person, with such a complicated residency, would that person be still, qualify for claiming that he's a resident of Garden Grove? I would like to have a clear understanding so that we can apply it for everyone. And this definition doesn't seem to address that.
It doesn't, and this amendment to our current ordinance is really addressing the issue of whether the applicant is a registered voter in our city. And that's what we're doing here today. We can certainly address the residency issue at another time, Councilmember Bowie.
Okay. Understand now.
I'd also like to thank our city clerk for going through each and every single planning commissioner application to check whether they are a qualified elector in our city. Because we do have a vacancy on the planning commission, and I have been reviewing the applications, and there were some that were not qualified electors, and I waited for that, knowing that this ordinance amendment will pass. So, and also thank you to the public for expressing interest in the planning commission and to filling that vacancy. Please vote.
Councilmember Beard?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie?
Yes.
Councilmember Fawn?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones?
Yes.
Mayor Nguyen?
Yes.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
And we're at item 10. First one, discussion regarding the provision of financial support for nonprofit organizations. Mr. Bowie?
Yes, I bring up this matter, I think 4 weeks ago, and then I was sick, and so I think it's wise to defer to this meeting. Over the past couple of years, we have seen numerous applications from a lot of various nonprofit groups asking for assistance. And because we have such a limited funding for them, I think it would be wise to come up with a multi-tier policy to help make sure that other nonprofit organizations will have the same or similar opportunity to apply for funding, and that they are not going to be cut price because of there's no more no remaining funding for them. And so I would like to ask our council to entertain the idea that we direct the staff to come up with a multi-tier policy that would scratch out the over the years to slowly reduce the assistance that the city given to them. Obviously, some program or some organization need a lot more help and need longer help than others. But if we have certain guidelines, at least we can. That would help the organization as well as the staff to to work to come up with a plan to move forward.
I think that's a good idea personally, but I'd like to hear from my colleagues if you have any input on this first. No? Okay.
Well, I would concur that I'm glad you brought it forward, and I think it's good from time to time to go through and take a 30,000-foot perspective and look at that and just see what do we support and why, and what are we overlooking, and just which ones could possibly get weaned off of support over time and get so they could stand on their own 2 feet, and which ones are, call it legacy projects or groups that that we should plan to continue long term and whatnot. But it'd be good to just sort of sort all that out and review it. So thanks for putting it on.
Yeah, I think that with the changes that happen with elections and new council members, et cetera, I think it'd be nice that staff present us with background before voting to approve these requests from the groups, how many years they've been funded and what total amount so far they've been funded at. And also during our council and executive management retreat that's coming up, I think perhaps we can think about a rubric or to set criteria for funding these requests. And I think that Mr. Bowie, when you're bringing this up, I think the spirit of it is really about fairness and also about our budgetary constraints in our city. So I definitely understand those are things we need to consider as a council. And also, in addition to that, we also have the different funding from, say, the Republic Services Fund or other funds that help with providing events in our community and whatnot. And we also have the Community Foundation as well. Mr. Jones, you're on there, and that actually helps.
Councilman Beard as
well. And Councilman Beard as well. Thank you for serving on that foundation. And I think that helps us a lot, but I think we need kind of a bigger picture, especially annually, what to expect in terms of who's going to come up and ask us again, especially for the future council members too. They might not have obviously, been watching, or they might not have had the opportunity to review and approve these requests. So I definitely support having some kind of a rubric and criteria. I'm not really sure, Mr. Bowie, what you mean by a multi-tier policy, but I think having an internal guideline where staff is reviewing these requests before it comes to council, and that's really important for us.
Sure. So with that, I don't know if we need to put on agenda for staff to work on such a criteria and guidelines before bring it back to us for more discussion and for a vote.
You can move that.
Okay.
I'll take that as a motion.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I mean, that's fine if you want to give specific direction as to what you want staff to bring back. If it's just a general direction that you want us to provide general information to bring back for you to consider, I think that we have consensus on the council to go ahead and do that.
I would like to put in motion that staff will work on the criteria, the guideline, and present it to the council for approval and for discussion and vote.
And for a formal vote?
Yeah.
That's legit. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? No? Please vote.
Councilmember Beard?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie?
Yes.
Councilmember Fawn?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones?
Yes.
Mayor Nguyen?
Yes.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Bowie, for your leadership in that. Item 10B, this is a discussion regarding a letter of support for the City of Westminster and the City of Garden Grove's Project V, or is it Project 5? Project V?
V.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, who serves on the OCTA board for our city. The application to OCTA for a new shuttle route in the Little Saigon area, and this is being requested by our city manager, Mr. Stiles.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. We wanted to just bring this to your attention because and have a discussion with you about this. We have had some very preliminary discussions with the City of Westminster and some conversations with OCTA about this particular grant application. We would be applying for a bus circulator grant that would traverse around the Little Saigon area, specifically Westminster, Brookhurst, Bolsa, Magnolia. And it would be a free shuttle service that would help with mobility around that area, reduce parking and the like. It would come with a 10% matching grant. We've had some very preliminary discussions with Westminster, and before you is a draft letter that would be a sample of what our letter of support would look like. However, this is more of a general letter of support. We would be required to send in a similar letter expressing our support by this Friday, and it would go under my signature. However, it would be contingent on council approving, in all likelihood, some sort of resolution by March 18th, I believe. So there would be another council discussion on that if the council so choose. What I wanted to do is ask Public Works Director Murray to just give a few bullet points of some things that he and his staff are working on related to that, as we try to get some feedback from you on your thoughts about your comfortability with us proceeding with at least a preliminary letter of support with them.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stiles. While the details of the project still need to be finalized, the basics are known. The proposed route will travel along Westminster from Magnolia to Brookhurst, and then south on Brookhurst to Bolsa, and west on Bolsa to Magnolia, and continuing north on Magnolia to Westminster for a total of 4.1 miles. As the city manager mentioned, it's free service, 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., with 15-minute service frequencies. A total of 4 shuttles, 2 proceeding in one direction and 2 proceeding in the opposite direction, will provide the service. Each shuttle sits about 24 passengers and costs about $250,000 each. The shuttle stop locations have yet to be determined. Project B funding is key to this, and it may provide up to $550,000 annually for a period of up to 7 years, and that's for each city. So you'll have a total of 1.1 to run the shuttles between the 2 cities. Garden Grove and Westminster would be responsible for a 10% match on that, and so that's about $50,000 a year we can plan on for the next 7 years should it go that long. Per OCTA's analysis, the total program cost will be about $875,000 annually. If the services are discontinued and the vehicles are sold, both cities are responsible for reimbursing OCTA a percentage of the resale price of the vehicles. And the city would be responsible for any funding shortfall that the sale would net. Project V has some minimum ridership criteria that you should be aware of. And there's funding implications should the ridership not be met. The first year has a minimum ridership standard of 6 passengers per shuttle bus hour. So every hour that each one of the shuttle buses is in operation, they have to be shuttling around at least 6 passengers each. For the years 2 through 7, that's increased to 10 passengers per shuttle bus hour. OCTA will reimburse the city based on the lesser of a couple formulas, or actually 2 formulas. And our analysis shows that we will likely be reimbursed at 90% of the operation and maintenance costs, which is about $790,000 a year. And so both cities would have to make up the shortfall. Please note that if the program fails to meet the minimum ridership standard, both cities could be liable for funding for the total cost of the program, which is $875,000 a year approximately. The city will also need to provide additional support, such as reports and analysis of the service, marketing, communications, fare collection equipment, and we will also have to meet OCTA, or ADA standards at each one of the bus stops. And that'll be for the life of the grant. And we have not determined any sort of a cost for providing these additional services. The grant is due next Monday, and the letter of support needs to go in with that particular application. We've worded the letter such that it's contingent upon the approval of a resolution which will come before you. This concludes staff's report, and I'm available should you have any questions.
So my understanding is if we send this letter, we still have the final say when we see and get more details in the final resolution on March 8th.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions for staff, colleagues?
Yeah, a lot of questions. First of all, it is, generally, bus services or shuttle are good services for our residents. That's always a good thing. But I'm getting really very nervous about we are bringing in at the 23rd hours, where there's a lot of unknown and a lot of risk that have not been worked through. Even with the letter here, it said that the length of the program will heavily rely on meeting the ridership standards, and that the actual cost and reimbursement amount will depend on these factors. Westminster has been working with OCTA from what I understand, for almost a year now, and we're brought in to hurry on this deal with Westminster at the last minute, where we have only two weeks to understand what they have been worked out. It makes me nervous. Even as I understand that our public work department are not even aware of what are the conditions, what are the all the factors involved. And secondly, we received some comments from our constituents that they like the general idea, but they don't like the route to be Bonsai, Magnolia, Westminster, and Brookhurst. They prefer to be Bonsai, Magnolia, Garden Grove Boulevard, and Brookhurst, a much bigger route, and it would go through a much bigger business community for Garden Grove. Westminster, between Magnolia and Brookhurst, are mostly residential with very tiny area for Garden Grove businesses. And so it may help Westminster a lot more than helping Garden Grove. And so that I don't know if having a couple weeks left to decide and apply for this would give us enough time to go through a risk analysis assessment and also figure out, is this the right combination of the routes, or there is a much better route that we should explore with OCTA?
I'm sorry.
So my question for you is I would like for you to make sure that by March 8th, when you present us a resolution, you give us all of those facts so that we can decide whether we should move forward and take advantage of this 90% fund and 10% matching, or we should not.
Mr. Mayor, and to Councilman Bowie's questions, you're exactly right. There's a lot of details that we are trying to catch up on. A couple things, and I spoke to the Westminster City Manager, shortly before the council meeting today. Whether we could look at some incremental approaches to this, whether you want to go right to the big route, what are our options to do some things. One of the things he mentioned, they're still looking at some of their costs too. As Director Murray indicated, could be as much as $1 million. They're doing some projections to see if they can get those costs down. So we've got some more discussions to have with the City of Westminster about the whole process. There's questions about if we don't meet ridership, how can you exit from the program? Do you have to buy, the buses? Are there other options that you could lease them from OCTA, other things that can reduce the liability that, would be concerning to all of us? So I think we need at least a couple more weeks to answer some more questions, let Bill and his staff really dig into this some more with the City of Westminster, before we're prepared. We want to make sure, if you want us to go forward with this letter of support, that we get that in by Friday, but with the full knowledge that there's going to have to be some other discussion with you at the following council meeting.
Thank you. That answers most of my questions, because I do want to echo Mr. Bowie's concerns on the risk, in particular, not meeting the ridership and having the liability of $875,000 a year. That is definitely something that we need to have more details on, and I'm glad that you're getting those details for us. Colleagues, others?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Pan.
I'm going to ask to put Mayor Stady Jones on the seat in a bit, asking him for his expertise, because he's on the OCTA board. So, but beyond that, I want to see and hear about the transparency of how we got involved in this in the first place. Did we go to Westminster? Did Westminster come to us? Or why were we asked at the 11th hour for this project?
Councilman Fahn, to share that information with you, I got brought into it by a call from the city manager in Westminster, Eddie Manfro, who said they've been working on this project and they had gotten some requests to look at, would we be interested in expanding it into Garden Grove? And, it was pretty recent, and initially we didn't know if there was a 10% match and some other things. So we said, we've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of information to share with our city council. I've got to talk to our public works department. So, and so obviously if we're going to be partner cities in this, we have to be, working together. Where are the stops going to be? How do they affect traffic flows? All the questions that you can imagine Mr. Murray and his staff are going through. So that's how we got involved in it. And on one hand, we didn't want to miss a potential opportunity that you might want us to think about, but we also wanted to be very cautious about jumping ahead too fast as well.
Great. Thank you. We do have our representative on the OCTA board, and before I call upon Mr. Jones to share your insights, your perspectives, and also your work on the OCTA board, I'm curious whether Garden Grove will only pay its portion in terms of the proportion of the route in Garden Grove? Because I only think that's fair.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and that's something we've talked to the City of Westminster about. You know, I think that's all the devil in the details, and I think it's a question, a legitimate question we can discuss with them. How many routes or how many bus stops would be in each city? How much of it actually goes through Garden Grove versus Westminster? You know, those are some of the kind of the financial details that we're really going to have to try and get nailed down a little bit, so to speak, if we're to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jones.
Thank you. So before I jump into kind of perspective and history, whatever, just want to start by saying I'm generally very supportive of this concept, and I'm, you know, obviously close to the action with my role with OCTA as well. So I have a lot of tacit knowledge about kind of where it came from, how it works. But I also share all of the concerns that you guys raise in terms of the proportionality of our cost-sharing contribution, in terms of the route itself, the ridership, the risks, the potential risks and exposure to this. So I think there's a lot that still needs to be explored. With that, I'd say I have a lot of faith in OCTA from having worked with them. They're an incredibly well-oiled machine, and they've got staff that just dives in and tackles a lot of the details of this and can come up with a lot of the answers that we're looking for, I think, timely between now and probably when this comes back. So I'm confident that we will get some more clarity on a lot of these things between now and then. What I would suggest is that we proceed forward today in terms of the kind of a high-level initial letter of support with a bunch of caveats or questions and so forth that go with it. And one, as Councilman Bowie said, is the route itself. I mean, I think we should look at the route. You know, is Westminster Boulevard appropriate? I considered that as well, because there's just not a lot that happens between Magnolia and Brookers, as you articulated, whereas there is a lot in Garden Grove Boulevard, and that sort of spans across the 22 also, which kind of does something. Maybe that's a negative from a routing standpoint, that it has to cross the 22. Maybe the logistics of getting buses across there is difficult. Numerous times I've seen with OCTA these sort of heat sensor maps of the county where you look at where the busiest bus activity, transit activity is, and it's all right around here. It's Santa Ana, Garden Grove, Anaheim, these areas. Like, you just see these just hot spot of where all the busing activity is. So any kind of transit circulators like this, Project V is a pocket of money that OCTA has set aside specifically for these shuttle bus or transit circulators. City of La Habra has taken advantage of this. They have a La Habra Express, which they put into motion, and then it's funny because they didn't hit the ridership they expected, and also because of some changing OCTA bus routes on their transit system. That system was just scaled back a little bit and sort of rethought out, but it still exists. So I would suggest going forward in this, but challenging OCTA to explore maybe toning it down a notch. Like, is there a way to do it instead of every 15-minute stops, maybe make it every half-hour stops, and let's get in and sort of prove up ridership in this area and along this route. Maybe instead of 4 buses, it's 2 buses. I don't know, whatever. And what do I know about putting together a program like this, obviously, right? So there's experts over there that will give us better opinion, professional opinion about what it takes to do a minimum system that could work, that's not too chintzy to where people don't ride it because it's just not functional. But is there a way to scale it back and then ramp it up upon success, as opposed to rolling it out and having kind of overhead cost, and then the ridership maybe isn't there or something? So I'd rather do it the other way, is start small and sort of expand it. But I really just, my gut feel is that there's demand for this type of service around in this area, that it could really move a lot of people around and be helpful in terms of just mobility in our part of the county, which really needs it. So
Definitely agree. I'm going to move this.
I think this item is not an action item. We just wanted to give you the information, letting you know that we are sending the letter of support as presented to you. If we had negative reaction, we probably would have held back, but given that we don't have a lot of negative reaction, we'll move forward and we'll bring back an action item on your March 8th meeting.
Okay, thank you. Sir, you're out of order. Mr. Flores, please sit down.
These are
Mr. Flores?
We're going to invest.
Madam? Mr. Flores? Mr. Flores? Mr. Flores, you are out of order.
So are you.
Mr. Flores, you are out of order.
Yeah, so are you guys.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So staff, you have the direction from council? Great. We're going to move on. Colleagues, we're going to begin with Mr. Beard.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment that I intended to say earlier about the Olson project. That was not, there's not a project on the board. We're talking about West Garden Grove and that one particular area in Valley View. There's not a project moving forward. Let me make that absolutely clear. There's a lot of effort would need to be involved, zoning issues, planning commission, city council. So I want to reassure citizens that there's nothing on the board right now being reviewed for that area. So, and your input was invaluable the other night when you came out, and I applaud those citizens for coming out, expressing their opinions. They're very strong, very adamant, and we have to listen to it as a city council. I made no judgments at that time, and if that project does come before us, I have to be neutral in that stance, but on the same token, we need to hear from citizens as well, especially those who live in that direct area. So I want to again, I just want to emphasize that it's not a city project being reviewed or under consideration right now, the Olson project of high residential in that on Valley View Street. So I just want to make those comments.
Thank you. Mr. Bowie?
I would like to ask staff for a report on where do we stand with the marijuana dispensary. Now, I remember 4 weeks ago we talked about it and that we direct staff to go back and start to organize public meetings to get input from the resident, from law enforcement agencies, from marijuana dispensary industry, so that we can then collectively come up with a guideline to help us coming up with a zoning to address that issue. Where are we on that?
Councilman Bowie, thank you for asking about that. Our planning staff is doing the research. They're talking to cities that are involved in already, doing some regulation. We want to learn a little more about how they're doing it, what have they learned from it, what are the procedures, that sort of thing. So they're still working on that report. I know at the time, the council said, make sure you get some good information for us, take your time to make it comprehensive. So I didn't want to rush something back to you right away, but we can certainly speed their efforts up and try and get information to you as quickly as possible.
And will we make sure that a lot of input from every sectors will have a chance to give them the input? From the resident, from the dispensary industry, from the law enforcement.
I'm going to just interject here. I don't believe that we did ask staff to do all that work. I think that work really falls on us as elected officials to be out there, to listen to the community, and to solicit input from those entities. I think that's our responsibility here. And I sure do encourage that each one of us do that.
I would like to have a more formal forum so that we can get the input from the resident. Certainly, we have done that in the past on complex issue, say districting. So I would like the city to organize, public forums so that we can get input from everyone. And I think that was the intention when we discussed that 4 weeks ago.
Colleagues, on that topic, please.
I think it's a great idea because, this is going to be one of those defining moments, at least for us, for the city. Because, to me, the support for marijuana, maybe for medicinal or recreational or whatever we wish to come down upon, it's a fork in the road for our city. And I don't want to make the decision lightly. I know where I personally stand with the issue. but that doesn't mean that I can't go against my ideals if the people of Garden Grove want something contrary. So I definitely would want to have a chance to hear as much as I can, not perhaps in this setting where we have to deal with other city matters, but just at a forum devoted strictly to the issue of legalizing medicinal marijuana for our city.
On that particular topic, I think it's good what we did before, that we protected local control, which is probably my single biggest number one thing, is regardless of what happens next, there's certainly a lot of buzz that this would be coming up and could potentially be approved in the election and that kind of thing. So we shall see. But the number one thing is, if it is, that we protect our ability as a city to kind of decide how we treat it. So I think it was good that we all pulled together and we accomplished that by acting in advance of a possible state level action that would have changed that if we didn't. So I think we've bought ourselves a little reprieve right now in terms of timing to be able to study it and figure out how we do it. So I would concur that we should study it diligently. I'm open to study sessions or open workshops with the public or whatever we want to do, but I would say let's take our time and do it right and really hear it out.
Mr. Beard?
I would agree. I would like to see some public input on this. I think a community forum, not right away, but in preparation of the potential election coming up for recreational marijuana at the state level, but also a contingency if that doesn't go through, if it does go through, our zoning, how we could look at it as a city to maintain and have that control. So I think more information is good. I don't think we should hasten our decisions to do that. We can go through the process up until the election. So I think let's use that time to figure out what may occur through the election for the legalization of marijuana in the general election for the state. So yeah, I'm open for citizen input, having a forum. I don't know how soon, but I would like to hear all aspects of it: citizens, law enforcement, the cannabis industry itself. So more information is good.
Okay, perhaps if we can have a scheduled study session. There's a lot of information, and the laws and the regulations of those 3 laws that have been passed and signed by the governor that provide local control. And now that AB 21 has passed and has received the governor's signature, we no longer have that March 1st deadline, which is why we acted on the complete ban on cultivation. And that was the reason, so we do maintain local control. My understanding is we have one existing business in our city, Indrasil, that does cultivation. There's no foot traffic. I also understand that they're not currently in a zoning for cultivation. So we need to look at our zoning policies, and we need to have potential proposals brought forward as well. Because a part of hearing from the public includes what we have to say, what our current laws and guidelines and zoning regulations are, so that we help the public understand as well what our ability as a council is in terms of acting on regulating medicinal marijuana. We're not talking about recreational marijuana. We don't know if that is on the ballot or not. I don't know where that is in terms of the signatures that are needed to be gathered to qualify for the ballot. What I do know is that in the state of California right now, medicinal marijuana is legal, and the state has very comprehensive guidelines, particularly on taxing and our city's ability to tax and generate revenue. I am a public proponent and supporter of having our city zone properly and regulate so that we can generate the revenue needed to hire more police officers, and also so that we have the resources necessary to initiate litigation on those illegally operating dispensaries in our city. And this is a potential new stream of revenue for our city that can definitely help alleviate some of our budget issues in the city. And this is in addition to that, all of the issues that have been voted on by the people of the state of California in terms of having access to their medication for patients. And yes, we have heard from folks in the public that have been veterans that need access to their medication for their different health issues. We also have heard from parents who have children who benefit from the use of different cannabis products. We have heard from business owners, and I think a forum to hear more from people is definitely always a good thing. I just think on that same note, we should be providing some more information on these laws. They're very detailed. They give us a lot of control. They allow us to regulate. They allow us to tax. And they allow our city to generate revenue. And I personally am looking at what's out there in terms of how cities have implemented their regulations and their policies, and also how they've benefited from taxation. I'm also interested in making sure that the process is fair. I also want to make sure fair in terms of who gets these business licenses to operate in our city. Because from my understanding, when the process isn't fair, when the process isn't transparent in the sense that council members or staff have some kind of say in that process, then it becomes a very corrupt process. And I want assurances that it will not be a corrupt process. And I want to make sure that whatever businesses that come into our city to operate for medical marijuana or medical cannabis is operating at the highest of standards for our city. So it's not just about taxing and generating revenue. It's ensuring public safety. It's ensuring that these are quality businesses for our community. And it's ensuring that we have a structure in place to tax and generate the revenue so that we can fund for more public safety and to also fund for litigation on those businesses that are operating illegally in our city. Is that...
Mayor?
Yes, sure.
Since the item is not agendized today, may I recommend that we consider, or you consider a motion to agendize this item for your next meeting so we can get specific direction on what you want us to bring back. Right now, we do have direction that was provided to us when the ordinances were being adopted, but we did hear a lot of different opinions and areas where different members of the council would like us to go, including work sessions. And I think it'd be appropriate to maybe agendize an item so that as staff we can get specific direction from the council so that when we come back we have a work product that the council would be happy with.
Thank you for your recommendation. I think that's good that we do agendize for another meeting. I'd like to ask staff how much time staff needs to give us enough information, and really when I say us, for the public as well.
Mr. Mayor, we're continuing on with our research as we speak. For example, this Friday we're meeting with officials from Santa Ana just to meet with them, learn, what some of their lessons learned are, how they're operating, that sort of thing, especially from a zoning standpoint. So we'll continue to do that work. I had some of the same questions the city attorney had when we're talking about study sessions versus public forums and some other things. There's some differences there about how you might want us to proceed, so that would be helpful. But we'll continue to do our research. I think what we'll learn, I'd like to, have, 2 or 3 more council meetings to really take some time to get this. So, if we're talking, let us continue our work in the month of March maybe, and, maybe towards the end of March, we'll be in a better position. And by that time, we'll be able to come back with some more direction from you at our next meeting too.
Okay, great. So let's agendize for a meeting, probably the second meeting in March, so that we can continue this discussion. Okay, second? I'm going to entertain a second.
Second.
Please vote.
Councilmember Beard?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowie?
Yes.
Councilmember Fawn?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Jones?
Yes.
Mayor Nguyen?
Yes.
Motion received, 5 yes votes.
Great. Okay, Mr. Fan?
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to take a moment to remember and thank Ms. Stacy Margolin. I don't know if our mayor will be closing the meeting on her behalf and her name.
Certainly.
But she's a longtime resident, not resident, but family member of our city staff. Great, huge supporter of the Miss Garden Grove, and just a great person altogether. She passed away too early this past week, and I just want you to just know who she is, remember her, and that I know I will never forget her. So thank you, Stacy, and I know that wherever you're at, you're making it a much better place than where you left it. Thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Thank you. I'd like to echo that same sentiment about Stacy Margolin. I had the pleasure of working with her throughout a number of years. Just want to offer condolences to Connie and Rafe and the rest of the family. Very deeply rooted Garden Grove family that served in many capacities, all of them, around town for many years. And so Stacy was a wonderful person and was incredibly gifted about bringing people together and getting events done, and just a very positive force around town, and just a really unique perspective on the world and life, and a unique sense of humor. So we're all going to miss her very dearly. And on a more positive note, I just want to express my just utmost thrill for seeing the Great Wolf Lodge open this last weekend. Stopped by there a few times actually just to go check it out and see what was going on. My understanding is they were about 85% occupied on Friday night and 90% occupied on Saturday night. Outstanding numbers for opening weekend. I'm sure they had their fair share of challenges with systems and check-ins and just sort of getting a brand new big operation up and running, but it sure looked great, and looks like people are having a blast. And I know my wife's got us booked there to go check it out in a few weeks, and I can't wait to go try it out.
Awesome. Enjoy. Yeah, congratulations to Great Wolf and welcome to Garden Grove, certainly. And encourage all of our neighbors, too, in the region to visit Garden Grove and stay at the Great Wolf and any one of our wonderful hotels. Also, I do appreciate Mr. Block for talking about civic engagement and registering to vote. I think our city can easily put on our website the suggestion of the web link to the Secretary of State. So if there's no objection, we can direct staff now to do that. It doesn't really take council action. Also, we can look into seeing if the school district is interested in collaborating with us and the county registrar of voters to encourage civic participation, particularly with voting. If there's no objections, I'm going to direct staff to look into that. Also, Mr. Flores, you're always welcome to speak. The public's always welcome to speak. I don't appreciate accusations that are false. If you look at that letter or that resolution, I specifically told the general manager, Stephen D'Agostino, that was a prior version of the resolution that was presented, and I didn't forge anything. That's Alan Roeder's signature. And if you knew that detail, maybe you would stop making false accusations. And you were out of order. Please, we have an order to our meeting, and you have your time. The public is encouraged to participate. You can call any one of us. You can email any one of us as well. But please, we need to maintain order in this public meeting. Also, I do want to check in. We did ask staff for the Students in Government Day, and I just want to check back in on that. Mr. Stiles?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I know our community services staff are working on some ideas for that, so we have not lost track of that, and I think they'll be bringing some ideas forward that I can put in my manager's memo, I think this week, next week at the latest, so we are working on that.
Okay, great. And then finally, I know Mr. McIntosh has been bringing this issue up several times, the Greenbird initiative that the city of Anaheim has, and I think it's a great project to bring the community together. There are a lot of people in Garden Grove that want to help, we're a city that's really founded on a spirit of volunteerism. We have the Strawberry Festival, and that helps a lot of our local nonprofits in our city. In fact, it's only local nonprofits that can participate in terms of having a booth to sell any goods or any kind of food at the Strawberry Festival, so that we benefit the local community. So that spirit of volunteerism in our community is still alive, and I hope that we do capture that and look into the Green Bird initiative and see whether our staff has some capacity to help our residents be engaged at that level for that specific purpose of keeping our city clean. And if there's no objections, I'd like to direct staff on that. And perhaps that's something we can also talk about during our retreat that's coming up, to see where we prioritize things. And I also want to report that we are going to be working with a consultant that's going to be calling each one of us here on the council, including myself, and to get what our priorities are before we go into that retreat. And that meeting is on
March 11th. It will be open to the public, and it'll be a discussion similar to what you had last year about what you want our priorities to be and to think about. And we'll be talking a little bit about what some of the priorities and recommendations and thoughts of the staff are. We'll be talking a little bit about some of the management strategies that we're working on internally to just be a strong organization. So we'll be kind of going through all those things in the retreat, and as we said, it's open to the public.
Great, thank you. And then finally, I also want to thank our planning commissioners who attended. I don't think it was just planning commissioners, we had other commissioners from other city commissions too, who attended the Olson Company's West Garden Grove community meeting, and I was there as well. And we have a very robust and active and interested community in the West Side. Just want to thank everybody who came out, and also our commissioners who came out, along with Councilmember Beard, to hear from our community. And Mr. Beard already addressed that nothing has been proposed to our city, and it does need to go through a process. And we've been hearing, and feel free to continue to contact us, at least me, I'm sure we all feel the same way, to express your thoughts and your input on whatever it is you care about, whether it is having a Trader Joe's, a Mother's Market, a Henry's, or just not having high-density housing. We really do appreciate hearing from the public. We're here to serve you, and we want to thank you. And I'm going to close this meeting in memory of Stacy Margolin.
Mayor, we do have a closed session item.
Thank you. So we'll close this meeting in memory of Stacy Margolin, but at this time, thank you, Mr. Sandoval. We're going into closed session.